How would you like to grow your business the easy way, and in my humble opinion, the fun way, through speaking? Yes, you can literally speak your way to more business, and we can show you how. When I started my coaching business 15 years ago, I struggled making only $900 in the first 2 years. Yeah, you heard that right. Less than $1,000 in 2 years. The problem? I was busy running around to networking events and handing out business cards, trying to help everyone, everyone. Then I took the stage for the first time in my life and began speaking and teaching about the strategies I coached on. And when I really got my message dialed in, my business went literally from 3 figures a year to 7 figures. The secret I finally realized is that when you take the stage, you instantly become seen as the leading voice in your niche or industry. Today, we show entrepreneurs just like you and just like I was how to dominate your niche by becoming the leading voice, not just another expert. We run an incredible business mastermind speaker training program. It's called The Leading Voice. You guessed it. If you head over to leadingvoiceplatform.com/podcast and grab my free roadmap, 8 Pillars to Profitable Speaking. This free roadmap outlines the exact 8 secret weapons you need to truly become the leading voice in your niche. This is exclusively for my podcast listeners. You go to leadingvoiceplatform.com/podcast and start speaking your way to more business.
Welcome to The Driven Entrepreneur, where we sit down with visionaries, trailblazers, and entrepreneurs and discover why and how they do what they do. We'll get the backstory, plus plenty of life and business lessons along the way. Here's your host, Matt Brauning.
Broadcasting from the Leadership Academy studios, aka my new basement. Welcome to The Driven Entrepreneur. This is the go-to plan for you, for coaches, authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs of all kinds to start, grow, and profit a business that you love. I'm your host, Matt Brauning, and today we are back with one of our Driven to Courage brand new book authors. You've probably been hearing this. I know you're like, Matt, you guys got a book. I get it. This book is changing lives. Just recently, we came off of the book launch live event in California, which was so much fun. And this author was speaking at our live event, giving a TED-style talk all about how to take back control of your day and take back control of your life with a self-care reboot. She is absolutely incredible. She's lived firsthand through, anxiety, depression, and 2 of her 4 children, working through with them. She's passionate about helping others navigate difficult things like this. She's also been a CrossFit trainer, Spanish teacher, real estate agent, and a nanny to the rich and famous. And yet she's also trained organizations like the Marriott, Ritz, Carlton, and Keller Williams, to name a few. She is the self-care reboot specialist. Kari Anderson's on the show today. Kari, how are you, my friend?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to be sitting here chatting with you.
I know. We've been going for a few minutes here, just like catching up and talking about the event. And your talk was so much fun, and it was so eye-opening. That's what I kept thinking about as I'm watching you talk. It was eye-opening as I looked at my own life, my daily schedules and everything. Tell me a bit about this idea. I guess I want to jump right in with you about a self-care reboot. When I think about self-care, I think about bubble baths and, wine or candles or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My wife, take care of me time. Right. But you're talking about something very, very different.
Yes. So, and I think the way you think about self-care is the way so many people, the way it gets portrayed in shows and other podcasts and media and Pinterest, for sure. Bubble baths,
Pinterest.
Manicures, things like that. Right. But I want to go a little bit deeper, because this self-care piece is what creates self-love, self-compassion, which is the foundation for launching off and making your life better. So really starting to look at, what are your habits? What are the habits? What are the things that you are engaging in daily that are creating who you are? The things that you are doing on a regular basis create how you show up in each situation, as a parent, as a coworker, as a business owner. All those spaces, you show up based on what you've put into yourself. And so if your life is just made up of watching TV at night, eating the whatever you want, not putting effort into what you really want to be, then it's going to be so lackluster compared to what you could be showing up as.
So the kind of person who is going to relate to this, and I relate to everything you're talking about. What are some signs? This might be a good place to go. What are some signs that I can see or look for in my life that tell me that I haven't been focusing? Because life's busy and there's, kids and there's work
Yeah.
and there's all the things we need to do. But what
Good
are some
question.
things that might show up that I should be watching out for?
So if you get to the end of a day and you wonder where the day went, you feel like you had zero control over the things that happened in your day. Maybe you had a random list. There are 4 or 5 things that you wanted to get done in a day. And you realize at the end of the day, you've gotten done none of them. You're wearing the clothes that were at the end of the bed from the day before. You feel drained, tired. That is somebody who is not living an intentional day.
Did you just say you're wearing the clothes that were at the end of the bed?
Yes.
Were you at my house last night?
This has happened at my house. So
Yeah.
I know. And if people say they don't do it, they're lying.
It's just so much easier. I'm like, these jeans were
Right.
barely worn.
Barely worn.
I lay them at the edge
pants,
of the...
They are not all the way stretched out yet. There's a little life left.
That's really interesting, though. So you get to the end of the day and you feel like, where did the day go?
Right.
And if you're feeling like that, then there's a good chance that you're not living, quote unquote, intentionally.
Exactly.
What would you say in your experience causes us to not live intentionally? Because I think if I asked somebody on the street, hey, do you live an intentional life or, whatever, they probably think they are, maybe. What do you think is causing people to not live intentional, whether they know it or not?
I think it has to do with awareness. I think that people are not living very intentionally until they've been woken up and realize I am not in a space that I chose. And I found myself there after going through all the things to start my real estate career, listening to what everybody told me to do, doing all the things, and then realizing I don't like my life.
How old are you at this point when you're jumping into your real estate career?
I jumped in kind of early 40s, 43-ish.
Okay, so that's what I'm getting. So you've lived a life, you've been a mom, you've been doing your thing, and now it's time for your career and you jump into real estate and do everything people told you to do. Tell me more, tell me the story.
So what you just said there is kind of key. I was doing all the things that people told me to do. I was following the checklist that people told me to do. Okay, here's what you need to do. You need to be here at 9. You need to get on the phone. You need to follow these scripts. You need to overcome these objections. You need to show up at these meetings. You need to take this training. You need to be like this with your clients. You need to take charge. So I was doing all of those things. And the more I was listening to people tell me what to do, the less I was doing things that I loved to do. You said that you read in my bio that I was a CrossFit instructor. So everything that I have loved to do in my life, I have usually flipped it around and become a teacher of that thing. So I loved CrossFit. I loved working out. I got into CrossFit. Then I wanted to be a coach. I was coaching CrossFit. Then life got so busy as a real estate agent, I didn't have time for that. All I had time to do was work with people who didn't appreciate me. And I just kept showing up.
Wow. So I don't want to float past that statement for a second here. All I had time to do was work with people who didn't appreciate me. Man.
Exactly.
I've had some days and weeks that feel just like that. And then you were a Spanish teacher. So is that the same kind of deal where you just like, did you fall in love with the culture or the language or the people? Like, tell me about how that happened.
So we got to live in Costa Rica for 3 years.
Awesome.
So for 3 years, I lived a dream life that I loved. And I learned Spanish. So my kids were small. My oldest by the time we left was junior high. And my youngest was a 4-year-old. And we moved back to the States. And I kept doing the stay-at-home mom thing for a little bit longer. And then once all my kids were in school and I started looking for what I was going to do, at that point, I had started working with a company that trained hospitality companies. And that's where I started working with Marriott, Ritz, Carlton, traveling to their properties, training their customer service people. And I could do all of that from home. But once my kids were in school, then I had the opportunity to start teaching at the charter school. And it was super fun because how easy is it to teach elementary school people or elementary school kids, the words for food and the words for their body parts and how to come and go and
Right, you
play
did.
and train.
Yeah, even after 3 years in Costa Rica, you did way better Spanish than first graders, I guess.
So it was very fun. I loved it. And then, but once I'd done that for enough time, I was like, hey, there's got to be something else. There's got to be something else. And so that's when I did what every other, like many other housewives do, is get their real estate license. Also, my dad had been in real estate. And so it seemed like kind of a logical thing to go try and do. And for a bit, it was fine. And it was fun.
So it seemed logical. It was like, this is a good step. It's a good
Yeah.
career you can jump into without having the experience, and you can ramp up fast and all the reasons.
Yeah.
At what point did you start to realize in this whole idea of taking back control of your life, rebooting your own self-care? Is this partway into the real estate business?
Yes.
Tell me the story
So
of where this came about.
Okay, so I had been in real estate for a few years now. I also started coaching because I really loved the connection with other agents. And as I had learned things, it was kind of a natural progression to start coaching and training other agents as I was on a team and helped them get going in their career. And I loved that piece of it. And I loved the training. I loved learning and helping them start to use their skills to be an agent. And I was in that for a while. And then things were just starting to spin out of my control. Clients, the people I was working with, and I just found myself getting less and less satisfied with what I was doing. Plus, I was also kind of messing things up at home. The life of a real estate agent, you become at the beck and call of your clients.
It's not 8 to 5, is it?
It is not.
I did real estate for a long time,
No.
all through my 20s, and it's anything but 8 to 5.
For sure.
Well,
When I think about
it's
it,
8 to 5 for the escrow companies and the title and the lenders and everyone else. And then you start working for the clients evenings and weekends.
right. And when I picture myself in real estate, sometimes I see myself in my office. Most of the time I see myself sitting on my front couch at 10 p.m. starting to write an offer and receiving texts and then people getting mad. And all of a sudden I was working with the public who were not my people. And found out that I realized a piece of myself, which was that I was a very empathetic, connective person. And that was all fine and good with my family and friends. And that had been my world. And now all of a sudden I was working with public people who I didn't really know or have a relationship with. I just was their agent. And it started to feel really, really yucky, really yucky. I started not sleeping well. Well, that's kind of the story of most agents' lives. Super connected to my phone all the time, not able to make my family a priority like they had always been. And yeah.
Was there a moment when, like, maybe you was sitting on the couch one night or something like that? Was there a moment when it just kind of came to a head, or it just hit you between the eyes, where you said, okay, this is not the life I signed up for, and it has to change? Tell me about that.
Yep. So I was working with a particularly difficult client who was also in a difficult scenario with the other side of the transaction. And every time I would hear my phone buzz, my stomach dropped. I didn't want to answer it. I knew it was going to be yucky. And there was...
and is yucky like someone's mad at you, or yucky is nothing's working out, or...
It just felt awful. It just felt awful. You know, like when you're having an issue with somebody you love and you just, all of the interactions feel awful. It's just not how it's supposed to be.
You're just living in adrenaline. You're living in, it's like a fight or flight scenario.
And getting beaten up.
Yeah.
And when I got a text that said, I need this to happen, and I came back with why I wasn't sure that would work, but I would do my best. And the response I got was, make it happen. I wasn't sure how I was going to make that happen in the scenario I knew that we were in. So I did the best I could to get myself through that. At a similar time frame, I was also working with a client who was angry that I had not managed a situation throughout the night. And I was explaining to this person that even though I'm
not the president of the United States,
you are my priority, but I do have to sleep. So from 11 to 6, I sleep, and I'm not negotiating contracts. So all of this was sort of coming to a head, and I was realizing, and I think the biggest piece of it was I actually had gotten to take a trip to Thailand, and I was gone for about a little over 2 weeks. And when I got back, a couple things fell apart, including my husband telling me kind of some of the stuff that was going on with my kids that I was missing out on. And that was what made it all feel awful. So I'm doing all of this, I think, for us so that we can take more trips, do more fun things, and I'm actually messing it all up.
So it
And
starts it's like, here's a dream, right? I have more free time. My kids are getting older. I'll get a second career. I'm going to enjoy myself. We'll make a bunch of money, have vacations.
Yep.
And instead, it's actually slowly sucking the life out of you.
100%.
That's the way I heard it. And I just wanted to say that because I think, again, people are going to relate to this, Kari. Like you're definitely not the only one. That's why I love the fact that you're sharing your story on shows like this and everywhere you are and the stages, you were just on. And man, so if you find yourself there, what is the first step? What do you do when you just wake up, you're in the bathtub at midnight going, what the hell happened to my life? What is the first step? What do I do to start taking control back again? Because there's things to untangle, obviously, but there's also got to be a moment when you say, I'm done.
Yes.
Is that fair?
And there was that moment. I believe that everything happens for a reason. And I had picked up consecutively 2 different books that spoke to me. And I was able to hear the words in those books that said, if you are not living a life you love, then it is wrong. And we are not meant to be unhappy. And even though people say life is hard, I don't anymore believe that life is meant to be hard. I think that life can be very, very enjoyable. And my eyes were opening to how unhappy I was and that I was at a place where I could still choose again and pick something different, that I was not stuck here. Fortunately, I thought I was stuck, but I wasn't stuck. Once I sat with really the reality of what I was living and what I was messing up, I had to choose differently. So I did quit. I told the people that needed to know that I wouldn't be back. And within 2 days, I ran into people who said, oh my gosh, you look 10 years younger.
Wow.
And 100 years happier. And it was true. Like literally my whole persona changed. And over the course of a couple months, as I started doing the things that I teach people to do now, all of a sudden people could tell. They're like, oh my gosh, the light is back in your eyes. You look like yourself again. I can tell that the lightness I'm seeing shows that you are loving what you are doing and I didn't know what I was doing at that point. I just knew that I was starting to look inside for clues to what I was supposed to do.
Sure. So what are some of the secrets to, I guess, navigate that, to be able to reboot? You recognize it, you want to change it, you stop. I know you teach a ton on this, so kind of walk me through a bit of, if I find myself in the situation, what are some things I need to know? What are some secrets?
So the biggest one to me is to start quieting your environment. And people will often say, I can't meditate because I don't know how to quiet my mind. But what I encourage people to do is just quiet your environment. So if that means go to your car and sit in your car with the radio off and your ringer off, allow yourself this white space. Allow yourself an opportunity to start reconnecting with yourself, with your own spirit. So I like to kind of lump this into this space of learning how to get back into alignment. So what I realized once I could look backwards was that I was completely out of alignment and out of integrity with who I was. I was doing things and holding myself to standards that were absolutely not who I truly was in my heart, in my soul, in my personality. So starting to figure out what are the pieces. I need to find moments in my day. And so for me, it started with just moments of my day where everything felt just right. Getting into that present space. So I'm a huge proponent and teacher of meditation. And that can look so many different ways. And I would be happy to, continue that conversation with whoever wants to know. But yes, and you can look at meditation, but that space of that helps you start to listen to yourself and start to pay attention to what your body is telling you. My body was telling me I wasn't getting enough sleep. My body was telling me I was way too stressed. My body was telling me that I had to stop because things were not good. So meditation, alignment, meditation helped me find alignment. And then in that alignment, I could start making choices that felt like they were more in integrity with who I wanted to be.
State your wish, mortal.
Hey Ginny, I wish there was a way people around me would know about my service so that my business can grow.
You need not a wish for that.
Oh.
Podcast advertising is one of the most effective ways to advertise your product and service.
So you mean the thousands of people who listen to podcasts can listen to my ads?
Exactly.
Interesting.
Go to podbean.com/brand.
That's podbean.com/brands.
Exactly.
Okay, one more thing, Ginny.
Yes.
I wish for $1 billion.
Man, just hearing you talk about going from stress to meditation and calming down, it sounds stressful when you're talking about just the old story. I can hear it in your voice. That's really cool, Kari. So it's not as much quiet my mind, but quiet the environment. That's huge. And I think
Yes.
you're right. You know, I think about, I'm my thoughts and my emotions and my this and my that,
Right.
but I'm not paying attention to what are some examples of like the quieting the environment? Is it that the dishes are talking to me? Is it that I'm scrolling on my phone? Is it that I have the wrong kind of lighting? Like feng
It's
shui my house? Like break
so
down some of the top few environmental things that I might not be noticing that I should focus on quieting.
So one of the things is that we default so often. If you start to pay attention, how much of your day do you default to your phone, social media, emails, messages, things that are coming into that device that you have in your hand or your pocket? So we're either connected to something that we're doing. So right now, I'm here with you. 100% of my attention is here focused on you. As soon as I finish, I'm going to go out and one of 50 things could take my attention. Fixing dinner, what messages came in while I was here, a million things, the yoga class I have to teach tonight. Okay.
But this is all input from your environment that's going to come
Yes.
to you, whether you're
Yes.
aware of it before or not.
Right. So until you are aware and intentional, a million pieces, I don't know what the scientific number is. You hear all the different ones. Million, billion pieces of information are coming into our brains all the time, every minute, every 10 minutes, whatever. So we have to intentionally, that's just the environment we live in. Like that's just the default. So we have to take control of that. I need to go into my bedroom, keep my ringer off, close my eyes, shut my door, and just take 10 minutes to reboot, to recenter,
Yes.
and then choose again. What am I going to choose next? And that's one of the things that happens when people let their whole day go, is that they are just waking up, they pick up their phone, they check their email, they see what messages showed up over the night, what new thing happened on Facebook or Instagram that I missed. They take that in and then they just
first thing
go about their
before
day.
they even pee, they're
Right?
checking social media. It's like nuts.
All the things. And that is right there, the first step to letting the world manage your day. Because from then on, if you don't change, if you don't do anything about it, you are just reacting to everything that shows up in your environment. Every
That's a
single
really good
step of the day.
Wow, that's a really good way to put that too. If you're letting the world manage your day. Oh my gosh. Like I just felt sick in my stomach when you said that. I'm like,
Yeah.
because here's like
Right?
I'm loving this, Kari. What I'm getting to is it's like, would you agree that like every behavior or action or reaction we're having, but basically every engagement with our environment, it's either me managing my day and bringing myself to something, or letting the world manage my day because I'm letting it in. That
Yes.
sounds like it's kind of scary, you know?
100%. And that's why I think that most people walking around are letting that happen, unless they have intentionally decided that's not how I run my life or my days, and my days make up my life.
That's really good. You know what I'm going to do when we hang this up and finish? First thing, I'm going to go into my cell phone and disable alerts. Like I do it for most social media, but I still have it for certain things. I'm going to disable the alerts for all that stuff. Because that's one of the things I wake up in the morning. I'm like, I'm not going to look at my phone. I'm going to read 10 minutes, blah, 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 blah. But then I go and look at my phone and there's this little alert and there's this little hit in my brain that says, what is it?
What is it? Who left me a message?
Dopamine. I feel, I'm going to feel so good. It's like,
Yes.
ooh, the food card from, whatever restaurant just said I have a free 10% coupon. Oh, like what?
Yes.
Who cares? Oh my gosh. All right, Kari, this is such a great conversation. We could go on self-caring for hours, but we should probably both go and self-care ourselves. You've created a self-care reboot. You have like a system, you have a whole thing. Could you,
Yes.
and I think you said in the beginning, you actually got like a gift you can give to any listener. So pay attention, guys, because
Yes.
if you're ready for self-care, this is your first step, the self-care reboot. Tell us about that.
Okay. So the self-care reboot is simply a worksheet that you can go in and start looking at what are you doing for mind, body, spirit, and emotions that are filling those things up. What are you doing to create a mindset that makes you intentional in your life? What are you doing that makes your body feel good so that you go out into your life or start your day in a way that you are in control of your body? What are you doing of a spiritual nature that has you in control of your day? So you can go through this worksheet and figure those out. The reason I feel like these are so important, and this is the first step to managing your life, is because I feel super strongly about setting boundaries. And boundaries are this separation between ourselves and the world, even our family and friends and coworkers. And if we don't value ourselves enough to say, I am more important than the things you have to say to me or that you are asking of me, if I have not built that up through a self-care practice, then I am going to have the worst boundaries in the world. And I'm going to say yes to everything. I'm going to let everybody walk all over and take anything they want from me, emotionally, physically, energetically, spiritually, because I don't know how to say no. So the self-care reboot gets you in a space of creating this self-love, this self-worth piece so that I matter. What I want to do with my day matters. The way I'm going to react to people matters. I don't have to consider, and one of the things that can be tricky on this is people will feel like, well, that sounds awfully selfish. That sounds awfully narcissistic, but nobody else is watching out for me. No one else is watching out for what I have to offer more than me. And so I can still be kind. I can still be compassionate. I can still be generous and yet come from a place where everything about me matters and I'm paying attention to that. And I'm pausing and thinking about what my response is before I react to the world.
That's really good. And then, so this self-care reboot, I think I missed it. Where can we get that from?
Kari, Kari,
Ooh.
Anderson.com/gift.
KariKAnderson.com/gift. And that's Kari, Kari, KariKAnderson.com/gift. We'll have that in the show notes if you listen on demand. If you're listening to this live in the car, hey, pull over as soon as you can. Be careful. Take care of yourself so you can get the self-care reboot from my friend Kari Anderson. This is awesome, Kari. I thank you for that gift for the listeners. You're incredible. And it's high time. If there was ever a time right now in our lives and society when it really is time for that, we've had more time away from work and home. And yet I think we were probably lowest on self-care individually and as a society in a very long time. So I'm with you. It's time to reboot our self-care and kick into high gear. Kari Anderson, thank you so much for being here. You are absolutely outstanding. You
Thanks
rock.
for having me, Matt. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, if you want to follow Kari too, she's doing some really great stuff. She resides out in Utah, but you can find her on Instagram at KariK.Anderson and on Facebook, or maybe this is Instagram too, My Mind and Body Collective. That's your yoga studio. Is that right, Kari?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. My Mind and Body Collective. Fabulous studio. It's not just yoga. It's like mindfulness and meditation, like all sorts of cool stuff. And if you're local in Utah, you got to go check it out. Kari Anderson, everybody. Hey, that's me. That's the show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't just leave right now and go about your day. What are you going to do? What's one thing you can do right now or in the next few minutes to stop, to reboot, to make a change? Listen to what Kari's been sharing. Don't have the same story. And if you do, it's never too late to make a change. Hey, get out there this weekend, stay driven, and stay mindful. Yeah, that's a new one for this week. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to The Driven Entrepreneur. Bye-bye. Hey, this episode is brought to you by my very own NLP practitioner course. I've been teaching neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, for nearly 15 years. It is the most powerful tool for communication on the planet, and it can be yours today. For a very limited time, I'm giving away my entire NLP course workbook for free. Go to nlpwithmatt.com. All the patterns, all the tools, and the techniques of NLP in the complete course workbook, the same one that we use to teach our live certification classes, yours free. nlpwithmatt.com. Get it today. Let's get back to the show.